Think differently. Apple. It does what it says on the tin, on seal. Who dares wins. SAS. These slogans are designed not only to be memorable, but also to inspire. At a time when Christianity seems to be in decline, it's understandable then that many churches like the slogan, going for growth. It's good for churches to grow, but the cynic in me rather suspects that this motto has got it the wrong way round. Faithful churches grow, but growing churches aren't necessarily faithful. So can the gospel and history suggest a better motto? In this Sunday's reading we hear the words of the anonymous writer of the letter to the Hebrews. In the days of his flesh, Jesus offered up prayers and supplication with loud cries and tears to the one who was able to save him from death. We are presented here not with a successful Jesus growing his church, but with the Lord struggling to do his Father's will. In the Gospel reading from John, we get a very similar picture. The Lord cries out of torment, "Now my soul is troubled." Yet despite this anguish, Jesus resolves to do his Father's will. He continues, "And what shall I say? Father, save me from this hour? No, it is for this reason I have come to this hour." Ultimately, Jesus is at one with the divine purpose, for he knows the harvest only comes from a willingness to die. He quotes, "Unless a grain of wheat dies, it remains a single grain, but if it dies, it bears much fruit." In a book called The Ruin of Britain, the author gives a dismal picture of the state of the nation. Britain, now cut off from continental Europe, is in serious economic decline. The writer equally condemns the apathy of the church. He writes, "Britain has priests, but they are fools. Numerous ministers, but they are shameless." It may sound familiar, but it was actually written in the 6th century by a monk named Gildas. The Roman army had left Britain for the last time. Pagan Anglo-Saxons were now free to invade and settle in the eastern half of the country. The ancient British Church had lost its zeal and was in serious decline. At about the same time, a British bishop suffered an additional personal tragedy when his 16-year-old grandson is captured by Irish raiders. Yet, this apparent catastrophe is to be the turning point in the life of the church in the British Isles, for the captive boy's name is Patrick. Originally, Patrick is only a nominal Christian, yet his years of slavery in Ireland deepen and strengthen his faith. When he finally escapes, he returns a changed man. He studies theology in France, is ordained, and is determined to return to Ireland to proclaim Christ among those who had previously enslaved him. Like the gospel seed, Patrick was prepared to accept exile and even death to bring about a rich harvest. And a rich harvest he did indeed gain. By the time of his death on this day in 461 AD, Patrick had founded a vibrant church in Ireland. But that's not the end of the harvest. During the next 100 years in Britain, things go from bad to worse. The pagan Anglo-Saxons continue to spread. The church in Britain is almost extinct. Then, some 70 years after Patrick's death, Aidan, a young Irish monk, arrives in the Anglo-Saxon kingdom of Northumbria. Aidan begins this process of restoring the church in Britain. The wheel has turned full circle. Patrick brought the faith to Ireland. Now Ireland brings the faith back to Britain. Today, when the church seems to be in terminal decline, we need not panic. The gospel and history teach us that if we trust the Lord, death can lead to new life. Patrick would have known Christ's promise we heard in today's gospel. When I am lifted up, I will draw all people to myself. Perhaps our motto ought to be going for trust in difficult times. So let me finish with some words of hope and trust which are often attributed to St. Patrick. I bind unto myself today the strong name of the Trinity. I bind this day to me Christ's death on the cross and his bursting from the spice tomb. Amen.